Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtada Khan, your host. And for all of you who are watching, happy Independence Day. Today is August 15 in India. It is still 10:30 here, August 14. So I will also wish Pakistanis a happy Independence Day to Pakistan. To all the Indians who are living abroad, living in India, I wish you happy Independence Day. This is the 79th Independence Day. India has now been independent for 78 years. And in these 78 years, India has made remarkable progress. One of the biggest achievements that I would say is that India has become such a respected democracy in the world. There are challenges, as you will learn during this presentation itself. However, India has, unlike many other countries which became authoritarian, became victims of military dictatorships, India has more or less for its entire period maintained its status as a democracy in spite of poverty and in spite of all other challenges that it has faced. It is also now one of the few nuclear powers in the world. It is one of the fastest growing economies. It's the fastest growing big economy in the world today. It has reached into the top 5 economies by GDP. Yes, there are challenges when it comes to poverty, but it has lifted over 400 million people out of abject poverty, out of multidimensional poverty. And India has also, gone into space, has produced some of the most brilliant engineers, scientists, professors, and scholars who are all over the world. India's diaspora is one of the most respected in the world. So overall, you could say that in the last 78 years, India has achieved a lot. It is perhaps one of the best performing countries since independence in the past 75 years. But today, I'm going to do something different. Every year, as you're aware, I talk about 5 major successes of India in that particular year and 2 or 3 challenges or failures. But this time I thought I will take a different route. I want to identify 5 developments that took place between August of 2024 and August of 2025, which I think are going to have a huge impact on India going forward. So they're not necessarily ranked, but I will be saying the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And you can see this list that I have on my, as you can see in the video, if you're watching this show, that I have already announced what those 5 major developments are. One important development is the elections in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. After 2019, when Article 35, 370 and 335 were suspended and Jammu and Kashmir was transformed from a state, self-governing state to a union territory, there was lots of concern. Kashmiris were, needless to say, unhappy. They feel that they have lost their self-governance capacity. So at least having an election which was pretty fair, you can see from the results which would have been expected and anticipated. And so Omar Abdullah is now the chief minister of the Union Territory, but as a Union Territory, the elected government does not have many powers, not just in security, but otherwise. So it's essentially a government in name only. But the signal that it sends is that the center government is now beginning to have more confidence in Jammu and Kashmir. And so it is possible that, as was promised, they will be getting their statehood very soon. So this is the first step. Having fair and free elections is the first step to restoring statehood in Kashmir. And I hope that happens very quickly. Another major event that impacted India during this period was the horrible, terrible terrorist attack in Pahalgam, which was not only designed to impact the development of Kashmir, largely because of investments coming in and literally hundreds of thousands of tourists coming into Kashmir, but it was also designed to create a cleavage between religious communities because the terrorists checked the religion of their victims before they killed them. So that particular event and its consequences, which I will talk about shortly, could delay the statehood of Jammu and Kashmir, but I hope that will be restored. So I think that the elections in Jammu and Kashmir are one of the 5 most important developments in Kashmir. India has had many successes in this year. For example, the launching of NISAR satellite in collaboration with the United States is one major scientific achievement. India is winning, rather drawing the test series in England with fellow Hyderabadi Siraj bowling the last ball and a Yorker and drawing the test match, and it result that could have been 3-1 in the series became 2-2. That was a major achievement. India retaining its status as the fastest growing economy with 6.5% growth rate also. And then in this year, India is on the verge of overtaking Japan to become the 4th biggest economy by GDP, and it will happen by the end of this year, by the end of 2025. So these are some of the major achievements that we can count about in the year. But as I said, I'm talking about major events that can potentially have a transformative impact on India. Number 1 is the elections in Jammu and Kashmir. Number 2 is something that happened outside India, which is the upheaval in Bangladesh. And I think that what happened in Bangladesh created a lot of negative impact on India. It increased the division along religious lines, primarily because there was a lot of uproar in India and perceptions that there was a genocide of Hindus taking place in Bangladesh under the new regime. But ultimately, one of the things that has happened as a consequence of the change in the government in Bangladesh is that a very friendly country, a very friendly neighbor, has become a less than friendly neighbor to such an extent that you could argue that it has become a serious challenge to India from a security perspective, because Bangladesh has now aligned very closely with Pakistan and is also becoming more and more indebted to China. And so you could argue that in the past, the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina did a pretty good job of balancing China, the US, and India, trying to maintain equidistance from them. But the new Muhammad Yunus's government at the moment is much closer to other countries that are not very friendly with India, such as Pakistan and Turkey and China. And we will see how relations with the US develop. But I think the transformation of Bangladesh is something that has had a huge impact on the regional politics of India by bringing China more prominently into South Asian politics and reducing India's leadership. So in the past, when people would question India's foreign policy and say that your foreign policy has failed in your own region, look at most of your neighbors, they're not very friendly. Nepal is unhappy. And Pakistan obviously is a challenge. India is also a challenge. We just fought a war with Pakistan. Maldives had an India out campaign, etc. Then India would usually point to Bangladesh and say, look, we have such good relations with Bangladesh. And Bangladesh was the benchmark by which India tried to justify its neighborhood first foreign policy. But now it shows that India literally has no allies or friends in its own neighborhood, even with Sri Lanka, which adopted a neutral position during Operation Synindul. It suggests that while India is trying very hard, it does not have friends in its own neighborhood. And so the transformation of Bangladesh is a very serious call to revisit India's foreign policy. The third issue, obviously, is Pahalgam and Operation Synindul. Big changes there. The Operation Pahalgam, the horrible attack on 26 civilians who were killed. And clearly, first it highlighted the lack of, it was an intelligence failure by the Indian government, clearly. It's amazing as to how nobody ever questions Ajit Doval on the many security failures that India has experienced in the past few years. But anyway, it was an intelligence failure and it was a security failure, because those terrorists were able to operate so freely in a state which is it has such heavy presence of the military and is under direct control of the BJP government from Delhi. This is not the state. Security is not a state responsibility, it's a central responsibility. Delhi should be held accountable for what happened on Pahalgam. So it was an intelligence failure, a security failure, and the security failure continued for a long time. India could neither identify nor catch the Pahalgam terrorists. And even after the recent operation in which India claims that all those terrorists were killed, there are very serious questions about the identity of those who were killed. And so the Pahalgam issue has raised several questions about whether Kashmir is now normalized or not. So it has kind of disrupted the entire Kashmir project. And then subsequently, Operation Sindoor was supposed to be a major event, a doctrinal change in India's battle against counterterrorism. India wanted to show to the world that it is a major power. It does not need the permission of the world and does not need to explain to the world. So before Operation Sindoor, India said, we are going to do this. This is our new doctrine. We will not be deterred by terrorists, by nuclear saber rattling. And we will not distinguish between terrorists and sponsors of terrorism and so on. So there was a lot of masculine, jingoistic discussions before Operation Sindoor. In many ways, Operation Sindoor was very successful. India was able to dominate for most of the 87 hours that the battle lasted. But it also created a global discussion about how many Indian fighter jets were shot down by Pakistan. There are lots of discussions that 3 jets were shot down in the opening salvo itself, when one of them was India's prize Rafale. It brought into focus China's role in Operation Sindoor as to how Chinese jet fighters, JC-10, Chinese missiles, PL-15, Chinese real-time intelligence, Chinese satellites were all so strongly aligned. China actually proved during Operation Pahalgam that it's a reliable ally, and it also sent the message to India that whenever it is going to fight Pakistan, it will not be fighting Pakistan alone, because not just China, but also Turkey and Azerbaijan stood with Pakistan. So it was a major challenge, even though India did very well, destroyed many of Pakistan's air bases, etc. But then subsequently, India has suffered many devastating, shall we say, diplomatic failures, as none of the countries in the world came out and condemned Pakistan by name for being involved in Pahalgam. India failed to block loans at IMF, at World Bank. India failed to put Pakistan back on the FATF list. Everywhere where countries were required to vote on Pakistan's culpability in Pahalgam, India lost. And then ultimately, this whole fiasco with President Trump, who now more than 40 times has claimed that he personally and his administration were responsible for bringing about a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, which India denies. And that is being seen as one of the reasons why one of the most fundamental relationships in world politics between India and US has gone down the drain. So in many ways, the aftermath of Operation Sindoor has not been very happy for India. And if those of who believe that one of the reasons why Donald Trump has imposed the highest tariffs on India is because of India's denial of America's role in bringing about ceasefire, even though J.D. Vance spoke with both Shehbaz Sharif and Narendra Modi on that night, and Marco Rubio spoke with Dr. Jaishankar, with Ajit Doval and his counterparts in Pakistan, and then Donald Trump knew about the ceasefire, and he was the first to announce the ceasefire. India continues to maintain that America had no role, which is quite mind-boggling to me. But anyway, there's a very heavy price for that, and if indeed that is the only reason why Donald Trump has turned against India. So I think the episode in Pahalgam, as well as Operation Sindoor, has had a tremendous impact on India's foreign policy and India's place in world politics, and we will only be able to judge it in at least a year or two as to what the actual extent of impact of that was on India. The fourth issue that I want to talk about is this new campaign that has started by Rahul Gandhi, just started this month. He claims that there is essentially widespread fraud in India's election process. He calls it vote chori. And there are some interesting points that he has made. And first of all, it is quite shocking that the Election Commission's response is to attack him, question his nationality or his loyalty to the country. He's the leader of the opposition party. And instead of answering his questions and cooperating with him in eliminating, if there are any, shall we say, fraudulent practices, they are denying it all. So when Rahul Gandhi asked for voter lists, they were given like hard copies which cannot be scanned. So that it was very difficult, apparently, for them to do analysis. It took them 6 months to manually examine one particular constituency in Bangalore. And according to Rahul Gandhi's findings, he found that there were 5 ways in which fraud was being conducted. There were 4,132 invalid photos, which means the photographs of the voters were unclear, so they should have been disqualified. 10,452 were bulk voters, people which, so there would be one place with lots of addresses. Like there was one house, very small, where barely 4 people could live, had about 80 addresses. And in fact, India Today's reporters went to that place and didn't find 80 people living in that place. So there are all these fake voters who are registered on very single addresses. There are duplicate voters, about 12,000 of them, and they're appearing multiple times in various locations, sometimes in different states also. Then there was a misuse of Form 6, which is for young people voting for the first time, and Rahul Gandhi found many people older than 70 and even 90. And then there were 40,000 plus fake addresses, voters whose address doesn't exist with a house number 0. So they have documented and shown this. And unfortunately, the Election Commission is not collaborating or cooperating with them. It appears that there is some validity to Rahul Gandhi's accusations that the Election Commission is working very closely with BJP. And one proof that came out immediately was when a BJP leader called Anurag Thakur made similar accusations that the Congress had won the seat Wayanad, where Rahul Gandhi's sister Priyanka Gandhi won recently, and other seats where even Rahul Gandhi. There was, I mean, this is the BJP government suggesting that there was voter fraud in those elections. So at least the BJP now acknowledges that there was voter fraud, but they're just simply saying that the Congress did it. But what was also interesting is that the data that Anurag Thakur provided within 6 days, it could not have been done without access to the digital copies of the voter lists. And so there's a hue and cry that this is raising serious questions. If you notice, one of the biggest achievements of India is that the fact that it remains a democracy. And if the Election Commission is colluding with one political party and rigging elections, then India will cease to be seen as a democracy worldwide. And supporters of Modi might come here and say, we don't care about the world. But these are the same people who jump up and down every time Modi is rated as very popular in his own country by any Western database or survey. They become very happy when some Western media says, oh, India is doing well economically, but then otherwise they say, we don't care about it. Nevertheless, if India is seen as a democracy whose elections are not trustworthy, it will do a huge damage to India. The biggest item on India's soft power is its democracy, whether you like it or not. India uses that often to distinguish itself from China and Pakistan and says, we are not like Pakistan, we are a democracy. We're not like China, we are a democracy. And if that is placed in question by voter fraud, then it is going to do a long-term damage. So it is in the interest of India that the Election Commission collaborate with those who are challenging it, with Anurag Thakur and with Rahul Gandhi, to actually see if there was voter fraud. In the final development this year, clearly this year has presented many challenges to India, undoubtedly. is the Trump tariffs and the decline of US-India relations. Just 6 months ago, India was the darling of the United States. Under the Biden administration, this sentence was very common, that India-US partnership is the most consequential partnership of this century. And now suddenly Donald Trump is signaling that India is not that strategically important to the US. India is being treated like a rogue nation. Donald Trump has imposed penalties on India for trading with Kashmir. It is putting pressure on India's strategic autonomy, on India, the penalties that were imposed on India for trading with Russia. So I think these are the 5 major events that have taken place in the last 1 year, which are going to raise serious questions about India's continuing growth at the pace that it needs to grow to become a Viksit Bharat or a developed country. And so they are going to be rough weather for the next few months for sure, but hopefully the tensions with the United States will be resolved, and hopefully the tariffs come down to maybe 10-15%, and that will continue to keep India's economic growth going at the pace it is at the moment. But nevertheless, to summarize, these are the 5 major events that have happened, and basically only one of them is a positive development, which is the elections in Jammu and Kashmir. And then the transformation of Bangladesh, Pahalgam, and Operation Synindul and its diplomatic aftermath, the allegations that India's elections are not fair, and Donald Trump's basically a hostile posture towards India. These are 4 very difficult developments for India. But today is a day to celebrate. So once again, I wish all Indians who are in India and those who live abroad a very happy Independence Day. This is the 17th Independence Day. India has been a free country for now 79 years, has become one of the most important countries in the world. It is the most populous country in the world with about 1.45 billion people. It is the world's 5th biggest, about to become 4th biggest, and soon to be the 3rd biggest economy with GDP. It has shown remarkable progress in space, in other scientific achievements. So in most achievements, India is more or less in the top 5, just behind Russia, China, and the United States. So anyway, congratulations to all of you. Thank you for watching Conversations. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and press the bell icon. And share this video with your socio-political network. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtadar Khan. Take care. Bye.